multiple layers of it, and then you realize that it's not just about the cliche of it. It's more so about you got to start the work. And also, if you haven't identified that you have a problem, it's normal for you not to feel like you need work. We all need work. Okay, we all need that. That's why I don't engage people that say that's asking a question or that's basically saying there's a problem. I don't engage anybody. If somebody just want to just talk for the sake of talking, like a lot of people in Clubhouse, I don't engage them. It's just a waste of my energy. It's a waste of most people, all of us, energy, as a matter of fact. So let's move on to the next segment. And these are sizable books. They are minimum 200 pages. You can download them absolutely for free by simply going to, for example, this one, you just go to getmymarriageback.com, smartrealestatewholesaling.com, realestatemoneysecrets.com. So yes, I am a 3 times author, and those books are out there for your consumption, and they are also available everywhere on Amazon, anywhere that you pick up books. So in case you prefer a physical book like that. All right, so let's go to Tamar Braxton. Tamar Braxton. Again, like I said, when I hear anything Braxton's, I kind of melt. I'm human like the rest of us because I like Toni Braxton. I've always been a fan of Toni Braxton. So even my wife knows this. Right, so when their show was on, Braxton, when it first came on, I was like, wow, just like the same reason why the reality TV shows blew up. And by the way, to her credit, Tamar is mainly responsible for that reality TV show. And I think they only made Toni Braxton an executive producer just formalities because she was a bigger brand, right? But it was mainly her. So. Thank you so much. Thank you. So Tamar Braxton is she's an interesting character. She's a woman of a certain age. I think she's just turned 45. And when she was with Vince Hubbard, who is a record executive, there was all kind of obvious signs that it wasn't gonna last. They were also an example of good people, raised with somewhat of some good value. I think Vince was raised without parents, and I think Tamar was raised in a situation where the relationship of her mother with the father was purely toxic all the way through. There were a bunch of girls and one guy. It's just too many red flags there. Not because these people are bad people as usual. This is why I said common sense is a terrible guide to life, relationships, and love, right? Because it's not about how good you are as a person. It's not about how smart you are. It's about how much of a student you can be perpetually. A perpetual student of the game of life. It never ends. When people say how much patience are we talking about, I said infinite patience. Infinite patience. There's no limit to the amount of patience that you need. So you better get good at being and resting in patience. Right? Meaning there's nothing someone can do to you in an instance that can destroy you. At least you have the skill set to be able to say, okay, let me process what's going on. Let me see if I can. Maybe there's a better answer. There's always a better answer beyond the moment in time. The moment in time is your natural instinct, natural reaction. Your feelings is always going to be wrong because you're human like the rest of us. It doesn't matter how much data you have or how much of a professional you are. As a matter of fact, the more professional you are, the more vulnerable you are to your personal relationships, because basically you will judge your relationships. You will judge the other people in your relationships with these professional things that you know, and they will fail you. So you have to remain in that space of humility, infinite patience. It doesn't mean you won't make a decision at some point, but being quick to decision is a weakness. It's not a strength. Okay? And decisiveness as a man is a strength. You have to be able to decide with limited information, but not in the moment, not in the instant of a moment. You have to be able to discern and know when it's time to just back off a little bit, right? And Vince did not have that skills. Well, people that attract a type of Vince also tend to attract a type of Vince. It will look like another person in another body. As you can see, David Oyefeso? That's how to pronounce it properly, by the way. David Oyefeso looks like, according to her, it's a snatch. six packs, all of that, looks like another entire human being. He's a Nigerian like myself. We're kind of, a lot of people think Nigerian means you're a better man. Bullshit. Okay, I don't know if you've seen a bunch of Nigerians in the comment areas on Manosphere. As a matter of fact, I think they're worse because a lot of them westernized value that they are regurgitating to themselves. It's not really their reality, but because they can relate in one way or the other, they turn it to absolute truth. They're actually worse, right? You start to have all the black men talking points, and they've never lived the experience of a descendant of slavery, right? So you don't know what the hell you're talking about. They're worse, right? But anyway, human beings are the same across board. We have a lot more in common than we like to admit to. Okay, so you can run all the way from America to Africa to go find a husband or a wife. You're going to attract exactly what you've been attracting, and you're going to fall flat on your face as usual. And that's what Tamar Braxton is. I'm going to play this short clip for you again. All credit to VH1. I use this in fair use. Okay, fair use. Let me play this short clip, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the lessons. I think I've already extracted the lessons, but let's play this clip.
You walk out.
Oh my God! Because I don't feel like it. I'm tired.
Be tired.
I don't know.
Sorry, the credit to WeTV, not VH1.
I cannot. Like, I'm getting super frustrated because this accident temporarily stopped my plans to tell Vince I want to move. But
that's what I have to do.
Okay,
but you want to make it something else.
What are you talking about? I asked you a general question like, what are you doing? These are simple questions.
I think Tamar is going through a midlife crisis.
All right, so watch it. They're arguing in a very toxic manner. They're walking away from each other, right? I teach here that a man who knows a woman never argues with a woman, okay? The reason why I say that is because I fall into that from time to time. A lot less than most human beings, but it happens, right? And I know what it becomes, and that's why I say avoid it. The idea is not to become invincible and you're a superhuman, you never argue. That's not the idea. The idea is to avoid it as much as you can. Be aware that when you argue in a toxic manner with your woman, there is no good results you're going to create from that. And the only good result you can create from this is that you'll be right. Okay? But remember that she's also right. At least she feels that she's right. Right? So there's nothing good that can come out of it. And this is an example when you don't know how to stop and remove yourself without removing yourself physically. One of my biggest downfall when I started to practice this was I didn't realize that I started to make my woman feel dismissed, or she started to feel like I'm just dismissive. And when the person starts to feel like you're dismissive, you're still building resentment. It works against what we're trying to achieve. That's why I say you have to remain a perpetual student of this, because every time you learn something new, you create another blind spot. Every single time you learn something new, you create another blind spot. So until you die, you will continue to learn, because you're active, because your viewpoint is always only 180 degrees at any point in time. You can't see the rest of the 180 degrees behind you. There's a whole 360 at any point in time. So if you move towards, I'm a Christian, I'm always perfect, there's a blind spot. If I have all this data, I know exactly what I need to know about women. Right? To all the Rollo Tomasi's students of the world, there's a blind spot. There's always a blind spot. Either you like it, you realize it or not. There's always a blind spot. Right? So why do I say back off of arguments as much as you can? Because in that moment, you're caught up in your own feelings too. You can't see what's going on until you back off. But they did this multiple times, arguing with each other. And by the way, the cameras are rolling. The cameras rolling is not in their favor. It actually works against them. It's actually more against them, because everyone is trying to look their best at any point in time, even in their personal life. For each camera you have, you can multiply that effect. The idea that I want to look right, I don't want to look like a fool. Multiply that 10,000 times over. Remember, we're talking about the human mind. Right? So it gets worse. So there's more forces against them. So for every eyeball that sees them on social media, that sees them on TV, you can multiply that again all over again. So there's this high likelihood that their marriage was not going to last was multiplied multiple times. But it's the same thing for the rest of us. It's the same point. You have to be aware of these things, right? But it starts with the argument.
I'm praying for her. You got attitude about everything.
I don't have an attitude.
You should tape yourself and sit yourself.
He's saying you have an attitude. She's saying I don't have an attitude. They're both right. Right? He's effectively making her feel less. She's effectively firing back because she feels attacked, right? And vice versa. You can say the same thing vice versa again too, right? Everyone is right in an argument, right? Or you could call this a debate all you want. This is a romantic relationship. We're always capping on that part. This is a romantic relationship. This is not your professional relationship right now. It's a romantic relationship, meaning yourself, you're also caught up in the feelings, regardless of how much you don't realize it or you try to cap about that or whatnot.
Oh my God.
Hey, how you doing? Where's Tamar? Huh? I think I saw your girl.
All right, so we move on to the next season. She's replaced Vince, the husband, with the boyfriend, the fiance. This one is like the Mr. Save 304, right? He's gonna come in and save her, right? Yeah, this doesn't work. It's like Skid Davidson all over again. Or this was the original Skid Davidson. These guys that come into people's relationship and try to save the person, this is consistent. They tend to be losers. Okay. They're usually losers. I'm sure there's an exception to this rule out there somewhere. Somebody that replaced somebody else and they're successful after the fact. Listen, no one is God in this life, okay? I'm sure that story is out there and I will point it out one day, right? It's an exception, but it's out there. But just keep in mind that when people are not emotionally available, meaning they're running from one relationship to the other, you are probably the sucker. You're one of the major sucker characters in that film, in that movie, okay? And David Oyefeso, shout out to my Nigerian brother, with all due respect, he was a sucker, he was a loser, right? And it's hard for him to see it because he was also caught up in the feeling. He fell in love with the Tamar Braxton, right? This is a 40-something-year-old man who was not married. It gets worse. The older you get without being married, right? As a man, the more socially awkward you become. I'm sorry, okay? It's not an absolute either, but it tends to be that way all the time because again, and if you failed, let's say there was a divorce or something like that, you really have to work on healing because you will also project whatever made the other one fail. Whatever made you feel was the reason for the failure of the last one, you project it on the next relationship, right? So it just gets worse. It just gets worse, right? So this is another example. Some people say, yeah, you know, at least there's something I can share. Yeah, all of us can share something. All of us has lessons in us. But are we doing it? Are we applying the lessons from a place of humility, or we're just arrogant, right, about the whole thing? I think David Oyefeso came into the picture as an arrogant young gentleman who felt like, hey, he got it wrong. I'm gonna get this right, right? He was just a rebound. Being a rebound doesn't mean that she deliberately made you a rebound. It's just what it is, right? She probably doesn't realize she was doing the same thing all over again. But let's watch this. This guy got upset so fast. Watch.
Going that way. Okay, let me go grab her.
She felt like you defending David was
I wasn't defending him.
she didn't like that you were taking the blame.
Well, that's how I feel. I was waiting for the air to kick in. It was
Like, I don't want her to.
Do you see a repetition of the same pattern? The argument, the need to be right, to always having to explain yourself. Listen, always, if you find yourself in a place you always have to explain yourself, you're actively destroying that relationship at that point in time. So anyway, I made this, I pulled this because I can see this relationship lessons everywhere in this celebrity news. I think we do the same thing in our personal lives. You know, we are very quick to run from one problem, jump from fire pan into the fire, right? And we think we figured it out, and we don't do the work because we're using common sense. We think we figure it, like, for example, that Delicious story, right? She felt like I know what it is. He's a narcissist. Well, where's the part where you look in the mirror and say, maybe I'm getting something wrong? But anyway, as far as this Tamar Braxton news, there's another clip here. This is what she's now doing online, and I'm gonna find what she posted for you in a second here. Let's see. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. I think I found it. All right. There's this video, Tamar, and this is what she's doing now. Watch this. So she's turning 45, right?
One man's I'm not ready is another man's she's exactly what I've been praying for. One man's I'm not ready is another man's she's exactly what I've been praying for.
One man's I'm not ready. What is that? Does that mean I guess she's trying to say some kind of proverb there. I get it. I get the point. I guess I'm not the one to be blamed. It's always them that's losing. It's always their fault, right? It's always the other person's fault. One man's that's the way they say one man's treasure is another man's, one man's trash is another man's treasure, something like that. You get the gist, right? I guess that's the point she's making, right? But let me pull this caption. There's a caption that she put on Instagram. I'm gonna pull it right now, and I want us to talk about it really quickly, because there's a lot of less, like every time they say something, there's something to it. All right, there you go. I have it. There you go. Let me pull it up. All right, here we go. She says, let me see if I can share it another way. Let's see. No, I couldn't share it that way. There you go. All right. She says, some of you will say this is a thirst trap. Okay. And you're right. And you're right. Okay. She got that part right. That she knows that everyone has the right to be right, right? But the attention I'm seeking is for myself to myself. Well, this is typical of women. This is a real thing, by the way, just in case you don't know yet. This is a real thing. Women, it's not women precisely, it's the feminine energy. It's all about itself, and that's it. That's all it cares about, itself, okay? So it could be a man that's in his feminine energy. All it cares about is itself, okay? This is me in all of my self-love glory, right? I will not hide my scars. So for people that used to misinterpret like this behavior as masculine, this is not masculine behavior, okay? As a matter of fact, we are wrong anytime we talk about feminine, masculine without both a man and woman involved at the same time, or both of them. You can't really talk about one without the other. It's one with respect to the other, always. So you can't just watch a woman walking down the street and say, hey, she's masculine. That's always the wrong way to use that terminology, okay? I will not be ashamed of my past, my flaws, oh my God. Okay, so this is manifestation, right? See, I can't shame her for this, right? At least she's speaking life to myself, right? I will love all of me just as I am. Get ready for all of the self-love posts for 16 days, all the way up to Saint Tamar's Day. Like another way of saying she's the queen. Who are you to argue with her if she feels like she's the queen? You're a bitch if you argue with that, especially as a man, okay? All right, you are effectively a bitch if you argue with a woman who calls herself a queen. I don't care if you're trying to build a community, all of that energy, self-righteous energy. Why are they calling themselves? Okay, you're just a bitch, okay? You're just camouflaging as something else. You're trying to build a community. This is bullshit, okay? There's no need to talk down on people that are trying to boost themselves, unless you're kind of extracting a lesson or something like that. And here goes the lesson, okay? I'm on the road to 45, okay? I guess that's how to pronounce that. But you get the gist, okay? What's the lesson here? What's the lesson? Let me get straight to the lesson. Here, let's get straight to the lesson. One second. All right, so the lesson here. Before I get to the lesson, real quickly, let me see. Oh yeah, thank you. Yes, I'm sure you are like the rest of us. That's how you do these things, right? Right? Multitasking, right? Yeah. So here's the lesson. The lesson with regards to this. That caption that I just posted, she doesn't believe in it herself. The more energy you put out to making the world see what you're doing, the less energy you're applying to actually actualizing it in your life. Then there's nothing wrong. Sometimes, to a certain extent, that's a way for you manifesting, to speak it to yourself so you can believe. But when it gets to a certain point, it's just fluff now. You're just getting attention. You're wasting energy on the wrong direction. Okay? As usual, nothing is absolute. If you're coming out of a relationship, make sure you heal. You're going to repeat patterns all day long. It takes a while to change your habits. It takes a while. Minimum 90 days, minimum 10,000 hours. That's just the minimum, okay? And depending on where you're coming from in life, all right, you have to work on yourself. Work on yourself means work on yourself. It cannot be overstated. At some point, it starts to sound like cliche to some people. When it starts to sound like cliche, there's a good chance that you're still engaged way too much in your ideas of understanding, in what you understand. You're leaning too much on your understanding. You're a stubborn human being like the rest of us, and you're struggling when you start to hear work on yourself as cliche. That's usually what that means, okay? And the reason is because you haven't actually attempted to work on yourself. When you start to attempt to work on yourself, you start to see the multiple layers of it, and then you realize that it's not just about the cliche of it. It's more so about, you got to start the work. And also, if you haven't identified that you have a problem, it's normal for you not to feel like you need work. We all need work, okay? We all need that. That's why I don't engage people that's asking a question, or that's basically saying there's a problem. I don't engage anybody. If somebody just want to just talk for the sake of talking, like a lot of people on Clubhouse, I don't engage them. It's just a waste of my energy. It's a waste of most people, all of us, energy, as a matter of fact. So let's move on to the next segment.